Hi everyone and welcome for another Therapy video. This time I'll be talking about my own experience with COVID. Finally, I got COVID with this new year. It just happened at the very beginning, like the first day already. I had symptoms of first day of this year, 2022. And yeah, it did last for about I'd say about 12 days altogether if I count every little symptom. Even right now, I'm doing this video on January 14th, and I still have a little bit of a sore throat, little coughing that come from time to time, but very, very light. So I'm gonna explain you how I dealt with it using apitherapy and what I found, my findings doing so. It's always interesting. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, that version of COVID that is going around right now is lighter, not as bad, not as dangerous. So, you know, some could argue. But that being said, around there's been people that had it at the same time as myself, and I know it's probably the same, like the same type of COVID that they had. And some had it really bad actually. So, you know, we never know exactly how it goes, and it's different for every person, of course. So, just to tell you, the most interesting thing I found out was using the Propolair device, like this little machine. You probably have seen it before. It's a Propolis Diffuser. It's really amazing what it did. For me, I was using it every single night. When I'm sleeping, I put it next to my bed and I put it on for the night. And it was just the basic model, like the A1 model, no ionizer on, no fan, no mask, nothing, just a plain Propolis diffuser. And as long as that was on, I had a little bit of sore throat, nothing else. And then one night, the capsule in it lasts for about 126 hours, and that one was done. So the machine stopped, and that night, that sore throat discomfort went down a little bit more in my respiratory system. Not too far, but it did go down a little bit, and it did get worse. Just in one night without the Propolair. So I was like, oh, I'm quite amazed actually. That was staying there just like a little sore throat. And then all of a sudden, sore throat, and then all of a sudden it goes lower in my respiratory system and it gets worse. So then I said, well, I must make sure I'm using it at all time. So then I've put it on at all time, and then that resolved really rapidly in less than a day. Little bit of something left, but almost nothing, and it didn't go further down in my respiratory system. And I'm really happy about it because I'm a sensitive person. My breathing system is not super strong. It's good, like it's functioning great, but when there's a cold, a virus or something, I'm the type of person that would be more inclined to have a worse version of this in my respiratory system, like bronchitis and so on. You know, I'm sensitive to that type of complication of that type of virus. So I was really happy, and finding that, oh, just one night is not working, it went lower in my respiratory system, it did get worse. It's amazing to me to see the timing of it. Showed me, wow, that's so efficient, you know, because when you use the Propolis diffuser, the active volatile particles of Propolis, you breathe them in. So they clean actually all your respiratory system, and they make sure it's not progressing. And I was really amazed by that result, so specific. So that's for me the greatest finding I did through that COVID period. I was really curious to see how apitherapy would actually work with COVID, and it's just myself, of course. It's not a reference. Everybody's different. I'm not saying it's magical, it's going to cure everything for everybody. COVID, you know, it should be cured by Propolis at all time for everybody. I'm not saying this, of course. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just sharing for me what it did. So yeah, quite amazing to see that. You know, if you are scared about your respiratory system with COVID, Well, for me, that was just amazing to see how efficient it is. And one night without it, and it did get worse. Nothing too bad, because right after that I've put it on again and it helped right away. But it's really, really, like, it's surprising, because I know it's efficient. Like, scientifically, I understand it. It's great, it works, but to live it is always different. So for me, that was quite something. And then for the rest of it, what I used, because I'm not vaccinated. I'm not saying that you should not be vaccinated or you should. I'm not getting into that topic at all. It's not a topic for me on YouTube. I don't do that. So I'm just saying, myself, I'm not vaccinated. So what I used as medicine to help me out was exactly what has been studied in that clinical study. It's propolis, Bacteris propolis, so the green propolis in capsules. And I took also myself the brown one from poplar tree. I know there's no specific study that has been performed, no clinical study on this. They're just reviews saying that it should be helping. But for me, the reviews are so good, and scientifically, it really does make sense that the poplar brown propolis can help, if it's of great quality, of course, and the one I produce myself is awesome. So I did use both the green and the brown propolis, like the Bacteris and the poplar tree propolis. And I took myself similar quantity to what is explained in the clinical study. I did a video on this if you haven't seen. It's quite good. It's a great study, and they are right now doing a bigger version of this. I don't think the results are out yet. It's being conducted in Brazil, in hospitals in Brazil. So that's quite, I'm really looking forward to see this. But for me, so I took that propolis every single day, and I took a bit more because before having side effects, like bad effects of taking propolis, you need to take quite a bit. So I could take even a bit more than what was proposed in that study. So yeah, I took morning, at noon, and at evening with the meals 3 times a day. I took my propolis in, and it went pretty well. Like the what I had as bad effects of COVID was some fever. Not too bad, actually, because I'm a type of person that do a lot of fever, and this time pretty light fever. I had also a sore throat. That was my worst discomfort, the sore throat. And then later on, I found out that my sore throat was not healing because the air I was breathing was too dry. And then I humidified the air where I was sleeping, and in 2 nights, that's it. No more sore throat, just a little something, remnant something there, but almost nothing. So if I would have understood that earlier, that discomfort would have been gone earlier. So yeah, some sore throat, a little bit of fever, and some fatigue. I did have some fatigue, specifically for me. I didn't stop working, and some days I had really long days. So it was a fatigue that was greater than just the usual like working fatigue, specifically when I do long days, like 16 hours work per day. Sometimes I do. So like really long days. And the fatigue was like bigger, like a bigger fatigue than usual. That was probably the main thing then, like the sour throat, some fatigue, and a little bit of fever. So not too bad of a version. Is it thanks to those propolis capsules, thanks to Propolair? You know, who knows? I cannot prove anything, of course. I'm just sharing with you my own experience with this. And there's people around me that had it at the same time. Some vaccinated, some not vaccinated, some young, some old, pretty much all ages. So there was no terrible cases. Most of them did take the propolis capsules. Some saw a difference right away using the propolis capsules, the green one in that case. And some didn't take the propolis capsules too. And out of those 2, one was a really hard case of COVID, not hospitalized though, but like difficult. And the other one was similar to what I went through. So again, it's not magical. It's not curing the whole thing. It's not something you take and that's it, you're cured. You'll probably still have some symptoms. And and those symptoms will last for a different length of time for different people. Everybody's different, basically. But I do think it did help, specifically with the Propolair, you know, breathing those propolis volatile active ingredients. It's quite amazing. For me, I really saw a difference with that night where that capsule went out. That's probably the main point there. Other than this, it felt difficult at times because I was working at the same time. You know, sometimes I had really low energy, but I was still able to cope with it and deal with it in a good way. Like, I'm really happy of that period of time. I accomplished amazing things. I'm really, even like work-wise, I did a lot of really good things. So I'm actually quite happy of that beginning of the year. And then plus, I finally had that COVID that everybody's talking about. I didn't have a chance to live it, like to go through it. So now this is done. So that's pretty cool. Just a plain sharing. I know that for some people it's been really hard, and some people even have like side effects, like after effects of COVID, including breathing problems. For those, remember, we did have a really good review with a person that had that type of symptom after COVID, difficulty breathing, and they're using the Propolis diffusers, those ones with the mask, and they see a huge difference. It's not curing it, but when they use it, then they're good for a while. It's quite amazing to see how, you know, natural products can do such a big difference. So I'm right in it. That's my work, one of my works. So it's just great to see this, to see, you know, how useful it is, and be able to share a little bit what I went through. And of course, it could have been worse. Again, there's no warranty of anything. And who would warranty his treatment? Nobody, actually. So, of course, again, there's no warranty there at all. I cannot say that it is a treatment for COVID, but still, there's some clinical studies behind it. I use it. I know many people do. So that's my own sharing of my experience. That's it. So thank you very much for listening, and see you another time for another apitherapy video.